everybody, another night, another movie, and I just got done watching 1971's Straw Dogs, starring Dustin Hoffman, Susan George, Del Henney, Peter Vaughan and David Warner. This one I've seen a number of times in the past, but it's been a little while since my last time. To the best of my knowledge, this was banned, certainly here in the UK, for quite some time. Banned for 18 years, now unreleased, now unleashed, uncut. The reason from that, from what I've read and heard, I don't think this was released until like 2002. Because of controversial for 1971 violence and rape scenes that are in it. They're not very detailed, but as with stuff we've said with other movies, it's what's inferred and how your mind fills in those blanks. Here in the UK, the British, the BBFC, which deal with the film certificates here, they kept refusing to give it a certificate. So it took quite some time. They tried releasing it with edits and stuff like that, and it kept not being passed, and finally this got released. It surprises me that it took until 2002, but I guess that just goes to show the change in attitudes and movies and stuff. But enough about that. This main story is David Sumner, played by Dustin Hoffman. He's married to this he's a mathematician of some bizarre stuff, and he's married to this British girl, Amy, played by Susan George. Now I get the impression they met in America, and I get the impression she's quite younger than him. He's constantly making references to her not growing up and stuff. Now that could just be a mental thing. But he does seem to be somewhat older than her. So anyway, she at some point has said something, and they've moved to Cornwall in England. But there is a little thread where you get the impression that he ran away because he wanted to do his work and he didn't want to take part in the Vietnam War. Now I could be wrong there, but the impression is that he didn't want to take part in any violence and stuff, so this was his way of running away and not being, caught kind of thing. So they've moved to Cornwall, which is, for anybody who doesn't know Cornwall, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. A lot of rural areas and stuff, and yeah, a lot of farmers. And here in the UK, the farmers are probably called, the equivalent of American rednecks, if you will. I don't agree with that, but I'm just saying that seems to be the kind of viewpoint, especially perpetuated by this movie. So he moves in. You get the impression they've only just moved there to this village. And there's these guys there who are clearly always at the pub. And they start, one of them, Charlie, we are led to believe had a past with Amy. But it's his mates and that, they're teasing, they hate this outsider that's come, from America and moved into their village. And whenever he goes to the pub, there's this one guy, played by Peter Vaughan, Tom, who's this older guy, complete drunk, who's just looking for any excuse to pick a fight. But anyway, so there's some kind of harassment and whatnot. And then Charlie, who doesn't want to keep his hands off Amy, he and his mates trick David into going on a hunt. And then they leave him like, we're going to draw the ducks out. But Charlie goes back, rapes Amy. And apparently there were scenes where you were given the impression that she enjoyed it. But they have, as far as I know, they were cut. But I don't know, you do get that impression afterwards, but then you do wonder what she was drawing up to try and get through it. So I'm not going to get into that whole rape thing about knowing how she was feeling. But so that happens, but I get that they had this past. So, but he goes to, he's like laying there, and then one of his mates comes along and sodomizes her. He's not great on the idea, but he lets this other guy do it. Although he has kind of held on gunpoint. So anyway, but she never mentions it to David and that. And then there's this guy in the village who's essentially Lenny from Of Mice and Men, played by David Warner, the character Henry Niles. He is very much this kind of, he's a perv. He's apparently, you get the impression that he's really always like chasing these girls, like watching them and untoward stuff. But there is a scene later on where he's with Sally Thompson's character, and he goes to hold her to stop her from calling out, and we get the impression he accidentally broke her neck, which immediately makes me think of Mice and Men. So I just want you to go on about the rabbits. But the locals are looking for this girl, Janice, I think her name was. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Janice. And somebody's reported that they saw Janice go off with Henry, so they're looking for Henry and that. And Henry, after killing her, ends up wandering around on the moors, kind of thing, in this fog that's fallen. And David, driving back with Amy from some local church fair, accidentally runs Henry over and takes Henry back to their house so that they can then call a doctor and whatnot. Except, of course, all the rounded up drunken farmers turn up and attack the house. What do you want, Henry? Give us Henry now, you know, kind of like that. And they're completely smashing in the windows and that, and David refuses to give Henry over despite Amy's insistence. And there's all this kind of shouting and they're wielding shotguns and stuff, and it's basically, you know, David's trying to protect his house. We get this impression the whole way through the movie that he's this bit of a control freak. He does this whole, I wouldn't do any violence towards anyone kind of thing. But then he's always bitching at his wife, and you know, he wants to be working, you know, in his study, and she's calling out to the cat, and I swear, seriously, as somebody who owns a cat, if you want something that calls to your beck and call, you do not get a cat, because, I mean, I will call mine and she will probably come, but if I call mine, she will not come. This woman, she's going to make a kitty, 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 and I'm like, no, you just don't do that. And she's wondering why the cat's running away. So he's really pissed off with her, and the cat then turns up dead, and they keep insisting that it must be these guys that are working on the garage, the ones that end up raping and attacking. But I know there is a theory, and I kind of see where it comes from, that David was the one who killed the cat. I don't understand why he would hang it in the wardrobe, unless while he was being bitchy to his wife, he was hoping she would find it and a point would be made or what. But he does seem to have these boiling anger and control issues. You see them together and you wonder how they're even, you know, married. Because seriously, I wouldn't have even gone. I wouldn't have married him if I'd known he was like that. So, so they have this very bizarre. I don't feel any real chemistry, and it's not that either of these actors are bad at acting. Dustin Hoffman is easily one of my favourite actors. Susan George, I know from stuff, and I don't mind her, but I know these people can act, but I don't feel any chemistry between the two whatsoever, and it's kind of distracting to try and believe that these people are married. From what I know, Sam Peckinpah, who directed the movie, he instructed Hoffman and George to live together for a couple of weeks before filming started. And some script person or something, or at least I've heard of on IMDb, apparently they kind of made notes to see how these two were reacting to each other and stuff like that got added into the script. But I just don't really feel it between them. And you know, my movies end, you're just like, okay, Amy has no real. I understand her reasons for not telling about the rape and stuff like that, and just, it's kind of frustrating. It's difficult to get into characters when you don't believe them. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's just that these two were not right to be, you know, if there was supposed to be that anger kind of between them, maybe some resentment that he's left, and she's somewhere where, you know, he is essentially the outsider, not only because American, but she knows these people, and obviously he doesn't. So he feels left out when she's joking with these people and stuff. But yeah, no, essentially the movie comes down. The first half hour is so boring. I don't mind it because I like slow burning movies, unless they're really bad. This isn't really bad, it's just that relationship that I really struggle to get into. And that is really what the first half hour is getting into. You're seeing the local people, you're meeting this couple, you're seeing the tensions that are starting to fray at the edges between different people. It picks up about 45 minutes in, and then really the main climax, this is an hour and 50 minutes long, so it's kind of stretched to kind of, like I said, I guess it's just to build you in with that slow burn. And I don't mind it. Like I said, I actually like this movie. For all its faults, I enjoy this movie. As I said when I did Straight Heads, this is a much better film than Straight Heads was. But I just... For anybody who wants to sit down and watch this, you have to give it time. It takes a long while to get into. When it starts to get moving, it does start to slowly pick up momentum. But like I say, it takes a while to get there, and then it's all essentially, this whole movie is essentially about the final scene, where these guys try to take over the house to get Niles and that, and David, who's reached breaking point, fights to defend his house. And I get that. I mean, I've not seen the remake. I was shocked to learn that there was a remake. And I think the tagline for that was "Everybody has their breaking point." And I guess that is supposedly what you're seeing from David here. But it does kind of suck that it takes so long to get up to that point. But like I say, I enjoy this movie. It is a slow burn, but I personally enjoy it. Everybody's excellent at acting. I do feel like the characters are slightly stunted. There are problems with the script, but I put it down to it being like 1971 because it feels very true to that kind of era. I do, however, feel sorry for people in Cornwall because this does not paint them very well. But, you know, I guess the same could be said for anywhere, especially rural areas of England. But if you like thrillers, dark 1970s violent kind of thrillers, this is worth checking out. Like I say, it is slow. I know I've said that about 50 times already in this review, so I apologise. But give it a chance. It's 18 rated. I do kind of find that surprising, considering what we're subjected to these days, but whatever. Yeah, it's a good watch. It's if you like your violent, like I say, 70s movies, then definitely add it. If you manage to find it cheap enough, I'd give it a solid 7, nearer 8, but not quite 8 out of 10. But yeah, no, that was tonight's movie, Sam Peckinpah's 1971 Straw Dogs. We'll be back again tomorrow. Thank you all so much for watching, as usual. Looking forward to seeing your comments. And for now though, this is Sketch, signing out.